Hello, my friend. Welcome back to the Mindset Check podcast. I'm your host, Misha McKittrick. This is a podcast where we believe that as you take time for a mindset check, you have more power than you think you do. And where we also believe that the beginning stages of just understanding the basic function of your subconscious mind can lead you into being able to operate in one of the most incredible equations to create your life. I'm excited to jump into this today and to be able to talk about the power of your subconscious mind. This episode is part of a few episodes that we're doing around this topic. So make sure you listen to the last episode and the next couple episodes because they all kind of mesh together and really help you to paint a big picture of how our mind works to be able to bring forward really incredible things that you might not have thought were possible before listening to the episodes. Before we get into the episode today, I just think, there's always so many things that I'm like loving. And I love talking about things that I love, like things that you are enjoying or consuming and stuff like that. And so I thought I would share a couple of things with you. Last weekend, my family watched a movie called Whitebird. And Whitebird almost flew under the radar, no pun intended, in this house. Because we watched the trailer and we were like, and it wasn't until someone told me that it was really fantastic that I watched it. And man, we watched it last night. It's such a great story about being kind, really. Being kind and being considerate of others. It's a great movie to watch just by yourself. It's also a great movie to watch with your family. Also, I know that I've mentioned that I have redone my bedroom, and there are so many things that I painstakingly researched, like our bed that has storage underneath it, so that I was able to kind of get rid of some of the furniture in my room and really clean it out and make an open, beautiful, airy space. And the curtains that I hung and the colors that we chose that were so comforting, very neutral, and a little bit of those warmer tones of colors, and everything meshes together so well. And I got so much of it off of Amazon. So I decided to put together a list for you. And if you're interested and you want to know about, our sheets and our pillows and the different things that we chose, I'll go ahead and put a link in the show notes for you. And honestly, if it's the kind of bedroom that you're hoping to create, it will save you hours of time, because you know how things are not really matchy right now, but they still have to go together. The color of your bed, the color of your pillows, the color of your throw, the color of, the things that you choose. So anyway, it'll all be there for you if it's something that you want to check out. All right, I'm really excited for this episode. Let's jump in. There was a time when my husband, who worked from home, would tell me at each juncture of the day how bad it was going. I'm not kidding. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I remember that the worst of it was particularly around one of the most difficult files that he had ever worked on. And every single thing, every ounce of what he said was the truth. We were experiencing really tough stuff. It was, a phase of life where he had incredible anxiety that we didn't even understand at the time how big it was. And we had been through financial ruin and through some other really hard things. And we had young kids, and there was just a lot to try to keep together. For him, every moment of the day felt like things were just going wrong and just so hard. And every single time he told me about the drudgery, it affected me. And I struggled big time between needing to let him get it off his chest and feeling that all the complaining, feeling this feeling deep in my bones, like knowing that it was wrong. I have learned so many things since then. And believe me, there is a difference between needing to get something off of your chest and wallowing in it. When we wallow in it, we create our life to continue to be of that fashion because we're so addicted to telling the story. Does that make sense? We tell the story over and over, and if whatever we say comes out of our mouth, we are creating, then we're just creating the story over and over and over again. And that is something that I did not understand the importance and gravity of when we were in it. That would have been insanely helpful. I feel like because we did learn so much in going through it, that's why, we get to have conversations like that, like right here on this podcast, is because we've been in the mud and we know what it's like to feel, washed off and running through the tulips. So the big part of this episode is going to be about understanding our subconscious minds and understanding what is happening inside of our brains. Because when we start to understand the patterns, the chemicals, the stories, the vibrations, and all of these things that are on repeat in our life, we start to be able to open our eyes. And when we can see what is in front of us, the thoughts and the feelings we allow to turn over and over in our brain, all of a sudden, we have access to something different. And so we must become aware of the stories we tell when we speak, when we think, and especially when you feel. Because every cell in your body hears you, and you create patterns based on that wavelength. Your subconscious mind absorbs that belief like the loyal assistant that it is, and it looks for proof from your life to support that belief, and it serves it to you on a silver platter. No joke. Milton Erickson said, "The unconscious mind is made up of all your learnings over a lifetime, many of which you have forgotten, but which serve you in your automatic functioning." So there's a couple of parts of this quote I want to take apart. The first thing is our learnings over time. The thing is in whatever way you function that way because you learn to function that way. Any time that you are waking up to the way that your life is running and you're realizing that you don't like it, a lot of times we kind of have a sour moment with ourselves. And it's way better to just say, oh, I was taught that, but now I'm learning I can do something different. I think that that's kind of an important part, because a lot of times when someone speaks about how life can be better, or it can be easier than we're making it, or things like that, sometimes it really can drive like a little sword into our heart, or it can hurt just a little bit, if you know what I'm talking about. And what's really important is just to remember that the places that we are, and this is true for just all of our life, because we always are opening our eyes. We're always opening our eyes to what's next and what we have the capacity to then see. We're always growing, which is one of the most fascinating and beautiful parts of life. And it's like really good. It's like more than okay. It's really good. And so starting out with that quote, just accepting where you are and being okay with it and even loving it. Because if we hadn't been in the drudgery that we are in, I wouldn't know the depths of the things I know to be able to share things with you, to teach and coach, and right, because our human experience, we learn through, we grow through not go through, right? We grow through it. And then we're able to make an offering to other people who are in places that we once were. And that's a really only one part of our growth that's really beautiful. And the other part of the quote that I want to dive into is talking about automatic functioning, because that's what our subconscious mind is. Our beliefs and the ways of being, the habits, the things that we have formed, those things reside in our subconscious mind, and they allow us to do this thing that's called living life. Living life because our conscious brain, quite frankly, is not always on. And we operate in an automatic mode a lot of the time. So the best way to think about this is when you drive a path that you have driven a million times before, you could be like lost in thought the whole time you're driving and just be like, you turn here, you go there, you do this, and then all of a sudden you arrive. And you're like, whoa, I'm not even sure I paid attention the whole way. But then there are times where you're going somewhere new and you really have to pay attention to what's coming up next and when do you turn, and right, especially before the days of when we had, the directions being softly called out to us as we were driving, when we had to look for landmarks and so forth. But that's a great way to start understanding when you function in automatic mode or in habitual mode. That's your subconscious mind serving you, helping you, like doing its job. And if we can reprogram that mind to do something different, all of a sudden, the things we do are different. And our life all looks different. And so it's really important to understand these two different levels of mind. The conscious mind, that is like when our mind is really turned on and we're really thinking through something, or anytime that we're making a choice, like a conscious choice, right? Our conscious mind is engaged. Another way to think about when the conscious mind is off and subconscious is on is sleeping. Obviously, your conscious mind is off when you are sleeping, and your subconscious mind controls your breathing and your bodily functions, right? All of that kind of stuff is happening in your subconscious mind to be able to stay alive while you're sleeping, like your heart beating and so forth, right? So our conscious mind is the most incredible tool because it's what gives us the filter or the process of thinking to be like, to make a choice and to be able to say, I would rather do this than that, or I would rather build this into my life than that, right? It's like the watchman at the gate. It gets to decide what comes in, right? And what goes out. That's the conscious mind. There are times when our conscious mind gets in the way. A really great example of this is when a woman gives birth to a baby. Something that I have always thought was super fascinating is that when you're in a coma, your body knows what to do and it can give birth to a baby. Wild, right? But our conscious mind gets in the way and says, this is painful. This is, I don't like this, or all of the fear and the doubt and everything sets in because of our conscious mind. And we get all of this resistance, and it makes the process of birthing this baby even harder. So that's an example of like our conscious mind getting in the way. And maybe some more intricate everyday examples are the limitations of the conscious mind, right? Like you might not ever have known that something was possible, and so you have a hard time believing that something could be possible. Does that make sense? So we limit our abilities with our conscious mind as well. So our conscious mind is really meant to protect and filter and help us make choices, and kind of like living life in that awake state, okay? Like where we're awake and in tune and kind of in charge. Our subconscious mind is this area of functioning on automatic. And it's also the area that holds these deep-seated beliefs about life, the way that life functions or the way that something will go. This is a quote from the book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, and this is a book that I love so much. It's by Joseph Murphy. He says, your subconscious mind accepts what's impressed upon you or what you consciously believe. It does not reason things out like your conscious mind, and it does not argue with you. Your subconscious mind is like the soil which accepts any kind of seed, good or bad. So when a suggestion comes into your life, right, by the way of what someone said, or something that you observed, or something you want to bring forward, or whatever, suggestion is an act of putting something into one's mind by whatever means it gets there. And a suggestion will not take hold there if there's an objection with your conscious mind. Is that clear? Does that make sense? So if your conscious mind is like starting to believe something like, I can sing incredible at the gala this weekend. And if your conscious mind says, no, you can't, because the last time this is what happened, all of a sudden that belief or that suggestion that was kind of coming into the subconscious is negated, right? It was guarded by that watchman that's at the gate. Your subconscious mind actually isn't the one that protests, right? It doesn't protest at all. It is absolutely submissive. I like to describe the subconscious mind as your most loyal assistant, but without a filter. Like you could tell it to do anything and it does it for you. Think about a hypnotist. In the circumstance when someone gets hypnotized, their conscious mind goes off. Okay, so they're not even conscious at all, but they're still responding, and the hypnotist is still speaking to the subconscious mind. And so the hypnotist can suggest something like, you are a dog, or any kind of animal, or a famous person, or whatever it is. And the body, the person just obeys. Have you ever seen someone be hypnotized? It's fascinating. The hypnotist can suggest anything and the person acts it out, even if it's not part of their normal character, right? They somehow find whatever they know about that thing, that accent, or that, person, or that animal, or whatever. And they bring forward all of the characteristics and the sounds and in amazing ways that is absolutely fascinating, which is why it's so hilarious to watch. The person is completely obligated to perform that task because the subconscious mind simply obeys and gives zero objections. So in the same way, it's really important to understand that whatever we actually choose to write upon our subconscious brain, the beliefs that we choose to instill inside of our subconscious, we can choose whatever we want. Shoot for the moon, baby, because it is completely submissive. It's your conscious mind that you kind of have to get past to be able to work inside of imagination and inside of possibility, to be able to bring forward really big things for you. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "A man is what he thinks all day long," because he understood that we can create something different by thinking something different. Because one of the tricks to be able to bring something forward for our subconscious mind is suggestion. If we can suggest something over and over and over to our subconscious mind until our conscious mind is starting to be the believer, then all of a sudden we can create whatever it is that we're suggesting. William James said that the power to move the world is in your subconscious mind. And Joseph Murphy said, "Your subconscious mind is one with the infinite intelligence and boundless wisdom. It is fed by hidden springs and called the law of life. Whatever you impress upon your subconscious mind, the latter will move heaven and earth to bring it to pass. You must, therefore, impress it with right ideas and constructive thoughts." And so this is why it's really important to start to see our story, to start to see our thoughts and see our feelings, okay? Because just as much as you can reprogram a computer, you can reprogram your mind. You can reprogram your behaviors and actually what happens automatically in your life. Because when your subconscious mind starts to believe something, There's not a lot of efforting. There's not a lot of force on your part of something that you have to do to make something happen. It just happens because the subconscious mind believes and it figures it out, like without you needing to do all of the effort. Many of us actually feed thoughts to our subconscious brain that are very limiting to our life, right? Like we hear the words inside of ourselves that say you can't, or you'll never amount to anything, or you'll fail. You don't have a chance. You can't do that. Everything is wrong. Like, have you ever been so overwhelmed that you're like, there's no use. Like, why should I even try? And these are all messages that we are getting, right? There's no use in trying. You're too old now. Everything's getting worse and worse. Our world is going to crap. Like these types of things are ways that our mind just starts to like go crazy sometimes with thoughts. And there's all these patterns behind why we are serving those thoughts up, behind the way that we feel, and we can shift the way that we feel. And, we've done other podcasts about that. But what I want to really focus on today is just the function of the subconscious mind. That if we are serving these thoughts, these negative things to our brain, then we are creating that story on repeat in our life. So have you ever been around someone who told the story of how many expenses that they've had this year and how tough it's been? And then have you ever heard them repeat that story over and over to you and to other people? Like, that's the story that they're telling, which also means that is the story that they're going to continue to get. Okay, because no matter how much you tell yourself like, oh, but it's going to be fine, you're still repeating the story. And whatever comes out of your mouth, you are creating. See, we can't alter the reality until we really become aware of it, until we really ask ourselves, what are you feeling more while we are in a conscious state? Because 95% of how we show up in the world right now is actually unconscious. Most people, most like day-to-day people, they're running programs and patterns that are rooted in them. And that's how they've learned to function in life. And until we start to wake up to that, we can't do anything about it. And so asking yourself, what are you feeling? What are you thinking? Right? Like being in tune with that is the first steps to really learning how your subconscious mind works. Because however you're thinking and feeling, there's a story that you are believing, whether you know it or not, that is actually hurting you. When you're feeling negativity, right, there's a story behind it. There's a lot of limiting beliefs that your watchman at the gate hasn't learned to say, no, you got to turn right around and get out of here. So, and I think one thing that I think is also interesting that people say a lot of is that they might be feeling two things. Like you're having a hard time getting pregnant and so you're sad, but they're really still happy for someone when they go to their baby shower. But then they'll tell you like but it brings up all these feelings. Well, what are those feelings? And my belief is that whenever you're feeling two things, it actually shifts you into feeling either something else or there's one of those that's dominant. For example, I am happy for them, but I'm more present to how I feel about my life and how it feels for me. Okay. Or, something that is bittersweet. Like when my son left for his mission and he was going to be gone for a very long time, like physically from me. And it's like you're so happy for them because they're doing what they want to do and they're growing and they're learning and all this stuff. But then there's still a part of you that's like kind of sad. And so you can describe it as like this bittersweet feeling. You're feeling two feelings at once. But a lot of times there is a feeling that is winning, or it shifts you into something else completely. Like you could be shifting into gratitude because those feelings are creating something bigger in you. Like, I'm so grateful for him, his life, and everything he's doing and he's up to. See how it can like shift you into something else, or one of the feelings is winning. And so even though I think sometimes people think that they're feeling two feelings at once, you really are sitting somewhere in your nervous system. You really are sitting somewhere that says, that's feeding thoughts from the feelings that are like, this is not okay, or, this is everything it should be, and I'm so grateful, or whatever it is, whatever story it is that we're diving into and talking from. A lot of times people hold a fear for the unknown or their future, like they haven't learned how to trust yet, like just life and the force, of whatever it is that you believe. Maybe you haven't learned how to trust God yet, that he'll have your back, completely and fully, or in your abilities, or the idea that, whatever you believe will just be, like that you'll be abundant or that you'll always be provided for, these types of things. And so sometimes we can sit in the fear of the unknown, but be telling ourselves like, oh, but good things are coming. And there's one of those that's winning. And the truth is we just cannot let go of a story or something that we don't want in our life until we are willing to see it. And we're willing to be like, oh, like the deepest parts of us don't even want to admit what is behind why I feel frustrated with my spouse or whatever it is. I mean, I could put so many things in that little column, right? And, there are a lot of parts to the story and the things that you then are believing, because there's a chemical side of your chemicals are used to firing in a certain way and then therefore feeling a certain way in your body because of the chemicals that are released. And so there's an addiction to lots of times negative feelings, because negative feelings are so addictive, the chemicals that come from them. But I'm telling you that every single time you replace the thought or feel feelings that are bigger than what is pulling you down, you rewrite the pattern. Every time you resist the negative program, you are rewiring your brain to be calmer and more loving and more believing that there's something different, that there's a possibility for something more. Here's another quote from Joseph Murphy. He says, "Never use the terms, I can't afford it, I can't do this." Those types of thoughts, your subconscious mind takes at your word and sees to it that you don't have the money or the ability to do what you want to do. Affirm, I can do all things through the power of my subconscious mind. Think good and good follows. Think evil and evil follows. You are what you think all day long. Your conscious mind does not argue with you. It accepts what your conscious mind decrees. If you say, I can't afford it, it may be true, but do not say it. He tells you different ways of different things you can say, a different story you can check into, because we want to create a different reality. And he also says, remember, your subconscious mind does not engage in proving whether your thoughts are good, bad, false, or true. It responds according to the nature of your thoughts or suggestions. For example, if you consciously assume something is true, even though it might be false, your subconscious mind will accept it as true. and proceed to bring about results which must necessarily follow because you consciously assumed it to be true. So you're starting to get hints of what we'll be talking about in the next episode, which is the how-to around, programming our subconscious mind. Bruce Lipton said, "The subconscious mind is like a tape player. Until you change the tape, it will not change." That's an old quote when we used to listen to music through a tape. You could say radio station. It's like it's not going to change until you change the radio station. Or, the station on iTunes is not going to change until you actually change the station. Your subconscious mind has incredible ability to heal, inspire, strengthen, and prosper you. And all we have to do is get past the conscious mind. And we can plant whatever belief we want into your subconscious mind. And when we do that, you bring forward a new reality on autopilot. You are literally like the captain of a ship or the pilot on a plane. Okay, think of any position where the choices that you make alter your course by just a degree or 2 or 10 or 50, and you end up in a completely different destination based on the choice that you made, 100 miles back. And in some cases, 2 miles back. Your subconscious mind is incredible. It acts as the underlying script for our daily actions. It is like the very best algorithm, really. Like you teach it what you want it to bring forward for you, and it already does it. It can cause you to have breakthroughs in your creativity, your performance, your physical health, in your decision making, your resilience, your overall well-being. It can alter how you have the ability to create your own reality. When you feed your subconscious mind empowering beliefs that you can then hold because we do it the right way, right? It's incredible what opportunities come forward in your life. You can literally program your brain to help you overcome challenges, to take shortcuts in life, to be able to bring forward potential and opportunity and skip a lot of the limitations and the things that get in your way. When you commit to reprogramming your mind, you're not just changing how you think. You're changing the very architecture of your brain. You're setting yourself up for a more fulfilled, empowered, and successful life. And so I wanted to do this podcast in parts because I want to give you some time to start to just really be aware of your story, of the things that you're saying that come out of your mouth. Because remember, your subconscious mind cannot take a joke, right? And so it doesn't have a filter to decide if it should really attach to that feeling or that thought that you're having. So if you can really start to just be aware of the stories that are on repeat in your life, you might see a pattern. You might start to see oh, I think that all the time. No wonder it's like that. And it also, I think, will open you up to be ready to receive what we're going to be talking about next week, which is the how-to behind reprogramming your subconscious mind. The how-to. How do we actually do it? And I'm so excited to dive into that with you. I'm hoping that you can see that by checking into the story that you're telling yourself, checking into the thoughts and the feelings that you feel, those things that are on repeat, you're starting to be able to see what is in your subconscious mind and the reason why things are being repeated in your life. I hope that you can see that by opening your eyes to that, and by understanding how your conscious and your subconscious mind works, that it's the beginning to really being able to create your life. And in that, my friend, you have more power than you think you do. My friend, I hope that today was either a good refresher for you or a huge eye-opener to the way that our subconscious mind works. If you loved this episode, then please share it with a friend. We're so excited for the episodes that are coming up where we learn how to actually plant new subconscious thoughts into your brain. And we also are going to be talking to a woman named Erin Ramsey. She is who I call the affirmation queen. She's like incredible at affirmations, and that's going to be a really fun and exciting conversation coming up. So make sure that you're subscribed to the Mindset Check podcast so that you don't miss future episodes. Also, I mentioned a book in the episode called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. It is a really good one. So if you've not read it and you want to check it out, I'll put an Amazon link for you in the show notes so that you can snag it and highlight the heck out of it like I have. It's a good one. Today, I'm going to leave you with another quote from that book that says, "Great and noble thoughts upon which you habitually dwell become great acts." Until next time, my friend.